On this episode of IT Unplugged, we sit down with RODAC Construction and look at how they're building their business through technology.
At M2 Technology, we're on a mission to make IT accessible to everyone. Join us on our journey to demystify the ever-evolving world of business technology. Are you ready to get unplugged?
Welcome back to IT Unplugged. I'm Brandon.
I'm Brett.
And Brett, this is going to be a fun conversation because I'm really excited to learn more about RODAC. We've been partnering with them for a little bit, and it's just a company that I really enjoy working with, and you guys have some awesome values. I'm just kind of curious, being with them for 7 years, what initially drew you to them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've grown up in a family of small business, and the smaller organization is what really drew me to RODAC as a whole. Having that atmosphere, not being so much of a number, being valued, valued employee, and that's something that as we continue to grow, we continue to instill on all of our team to make sure that we're being valued as a valuable member of the team versus a number and just somebody come in and do some work. So that team aspect is huge, and really valuing the work-life balance. Everybody has stuff come up, but having a top-down mentality of let's work through this together, and figure out how we can make it mutually beneficial for everybody. So yes, small company aspect, but do some cool projects and large company projects.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's like the environment that somebody wants to be a part of, right? And it's easier to retain talent. It's easier to bring on talent when they can feel that when they walk in the room. And that's like one of the things that we felt when we walked in the room. We're like, oh, this organization feels a little bit different. Maybe I'm putting the horse before the cart before the horse, whatever it is. Can you tell me what is RODAC? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so RODAC, we're a general contractor here out of Green Bay. We do not self-perform, but we construction manage and general contract work for many different organizations throughout the area and state of Wisconsin. Cool projects, anything from putting up somebody's mailbox to hospital projects. So a little bit everything in between. Hospitality, some grocery, warehousing. So so a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you say little bit and kind of talk about some putting up a mailbox and stuff like that. RODAC was founded in 2007, and you guys seem to have gained a lot of trust within the industry. You talk about little projects. What I'm trying to get at is you guys work with some big brands, some major brands. How do you build that trust so quickly where these brands are like, yep, we're going to work with RODAC versus maybe one of those, large conglomerate construction companies that are out there?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it all comes back to values and doing what's right for the customer and client at the end of the day. Whether it's they make a phone call, like I said, the mailbox, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody calls and says, hey, my mailbox tipped over, or somebody hit my mailbox. We'll take care of it for you.
Sure.
It's nothing's too big, too small, and we want it to be. We want you to be successful as a customer and partner, so we're going to do what it takes. And having that personal aspect of knowing that they can pick up the phone and they're going to get a response, they're going to get a call back. I think goes a long ways.
Yeah. It's funny how many. I don't want to go into too much sales stuff, but I've talked to some people that have given an inbound call, right? Called the company, and I go, oh, how'd you find us? And they're like, we looked at 3 IT companies. We called all 3 of them and saw who would get back to us first. People really care about responsiveness, and they want to feel valued.
Yes, and I think that has a lot to do with it. And having that open line of communication is critical. Yeah.
So speaking about that open line of communication, I think communication is so important. I'm sure with a lot of large projects as well. Kind of the same thing in IT, cybersecurity, people want to know what's going on. So RODAC kind of has a 4-stage approach to projects. Can you help me understand what that is and maybe how technology plays a little part in each of those?
Yeah, so everything from business development, estimating, the construction process, and then I'd say accounting and closeout side of things. Each facet, we have technology that's within, as you mentioned, whether it's an ERP or a CM software, estimating software, accounting software. Really having a good understanding and making sure that those all tie together is critical. As we grow, as organizations grow. Obviously, there's bumps in the road with technology and trying new softwares, new programs, but really honing in to understand which ones are tried and true and have proven themselves, and then implementing them within the organization to talk from one step to the next is key.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like a lot of companies are, like, as they grow, they kind of get cold feet on, like, the next steps. I'm like, ooh, this old thing kind of works, but it doesn't fit in their growth plan. So, like, how do you guys build that culture that you're okay with the innovation and trying new products and new things like that?
Yeah, it's tough, right? It's quote unquote teaching all dog new tricks, right? But it's one of those things where it's like, you know, what is the industry doing? Obviously, you have to stay at the top of that, and technology is, as you know, is ever changing, and it seems like you buy a new tablet, you buy a computer, and by the time you get it, there's a new version out. Really honing in on number one, what you're using for a software, continued education, and making sure that your team is using the resources that are at our fingertips. You know, I mean, it's incredible. It goes from, you know, it was a product on just a desktop. Now it's, you know, it's on your mobile device, or, you know, on the app store. So taking it from just being in an office to now you got it on the go is pretty awesome.
That's great. So you kind of talked a little bit about security or technology. You guys work, you know, in different verticals, right? So I'm kind of curious from the, you know, project management standpoint, if you have let's say a retailer that's going to be building a building, and then you have like a healthcare provider that's building a building, I'm sure they have different security concerns or cybersecurity concerns. How do you guys approach that? How do you learn about it? And how do you kind of like assure that customer that everything's going to be all right, essentially?
Yeah, great question. And on our side, we treat every project the same. So obviously we put our trust into you. We build buildings. We're not IT guys. So ensuring that our partners are on top of it, and we have that trust, which appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
But when it comes to the customer and understanding and having having that open conversation of, hey, what is required on your end, or, you know, how are we sending documents back and forth? What's the share file? We have been more and more working to use our CM software, as it's proven cloud-based, to share files, let them have access to it, so that it's not so much, hey, I'm sending an attachment, or I'm sending a PDF, or I'm sending a share file through, because I think everybody has seen that as of recent. You know, you have a goofy email that comes up, and it's like, do I open this? Do I not open it? You know, asking the questions, which everybody should watch that and be cognizant of it, that is out there. But trying to hone in and really use the CM software that we have to say, hey, this is our central hub. You know, it's backed up, it's cloud-based, this is where it's at, and, you know, we are backed by M2, and this is where it's at. So really having that open communication, and there are things that they want to, you know, maybe take out of house. That's like, hey, let's really use this, and they may come back with a request saying, hey, we'd rather use this. So it's every project's a little bit different, but understanding the groundwork prior to kickoff is key.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because you guys, you know, I think what has made you successful is a lot of personal relationships and having that communication. So technology has allowed us to have communication a lot faster, a lot more secure, but how do you balance that, like, hands-on approach and communication versus using something, you know, like, obviously you need to use that CM software, but, like, do you have customers that are kind of, hey, I don't want to keep logging on to that. Like, can you give me a phone call and give me an update or something like that? Like, how do you manage that? We deal with it all the time when it's project management. Like, we have this thing and it'll tell you everything we're doing. I'm like, yeah, I'm never logging in that.
Can I get a PDF?
Yeah, exactly. Give me the printout of it.
No, that's, you know, and that's just it. And that's understanding customer and clients and partners' needs and wants. There are definitely certain individuals that'll be like, I don't want to log in. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see that. I want to see a hard set of plans, and give me the report. So we continue to strive ourselves on still having in-person meetings weekly, and in-person meetings. It's with ownership, in-person meetings with subcontractors. At the end of the day, there's nothing better than sitting down in a room with a group of individuals, being able to shake hands, look somebody in the eye, even a phone call. You know, we're fortunate enough that now there's the the Teams calls and Zoom
Yeah.
meetings and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, they work. But having individuals together sitting around a table, I think that's the best way that you can
Yeah.
get something handled. But there is the technology background things of saying, okay, how do we improve it? Or if somebody's traveling, and I mean everybody's busy and fast paced, so there's different facets that you can tie into it. But
Yeah.
I guess circling it back, understanding customers' needs, wants, and expectations from the front end is key. And it's never a bad thing to go stop in and sit down and shake hands.
Yeah. No, I can't agree more. More stuff gets done, it feels like, when you're
Yes.
like sitting across from someone. And there's that nonverbal communication. Like, you really get to know somebody when you're sitting down.
You do.
One of the things that I love that you said is at the forefront, like in the very beginning, you're setting those expectations and seeing what's going on. Because the last thing you want is like 4 months in, or maybe not that long, but like 2 months into the project, you're like, oh, this person's never logged in. They hate this stuff. They're like, this is not how they want to be communicated to. So now you're almost working from like a whole of, oh no, now we have to rebuild trust. Or,
Yes.
We had these things in place and they're not using it.
Yeah, and it's like, why didn't you see the email? Like, I don't check my emails.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, there's that feeling out process, right? There's someone that I know that like just doesn't check their Teams, but they check their emails, and it's like you figure that out pretty quick. Where you're like, oh yeah, this is never getting responsive, but the email gets back in 30 minutes. Like, all right, I found my direct channel, and
Yes.
now we're just gonna work with that. Yeah, I think not being too stringent with things is kind of a benefit.
Yeah, you have to be open.
Yeah,
Right. You have to be
absolutely.
open to some change. I mean, change is tough.
Yeah.
Especially if somebody's stuck in their ways, but
Yeah.
work with them.
Yeah, and you guys work with a lot of people, so subcontractors, vendors. I'm kind of curious, how do you, there's a lot of communication that goes back and forth with them as well. You talked about your CM system and how a lot of it's in the cloud and secured, but how do you make sure that you're getting good partners? Because when it comes to IT, cybersecurity, like I don't know, like you could put everything in place, but if you have a partner that's just like, whatever, I don't care about that, like they can make your company look bad, essentially. So how do you kind of vet them, I guess? How do you figure out like who you want to partner with?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes in a couple different ways. But I would say overall, it's proven track record.
Yeah.
Trying to continue to use subcontractors that are tried and true, but then also word of mouth, right? Or, hey, I've used this guy, recommendations, and feeling it out, giving people a chance. I mean, you have to do it. Everybody needs to you got to take a chance. So, and then once you do know, is implementing them and continuing to work with each other and creating that team aspect. And the other part of it too is encouraging the different subcontractors, vendors, owners alike, to use and see the benefits of the software.
Sure.
It's tough. It's tough because people, once again, it's new, it's different, they're not sure. But that's one thing about the CM software that we do use is it's very prevalent within the industry. So they at least have seen it to some extent or heard of it, and getting in and really diving in and starting to use it has been easier, I would say, than it has in the past.
Sure.
As there's more exposure to it. So just encouraging it and helping them through, whether it's sitting down with them, running them through how it is, or running through how the operations on it works in person, taking a couple minutes on a phone call side of things. But
yeah, it's weird because a lot of times I think it's knowledge, and like it makes people afraid of it too. It's like, oh gosh, I have to sign in this thing. I don't know how to use it, so I'm not going to use it. I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's not the way that I do it. So I think that's like a great call out. Is why don't I just sit down, like maybe do a little bit of a knowledge check, not like testing, but So the last time you went in here, like, did you see this thing? And they're like, no, because I've never logged in. It's like,
I've never been in there.
Yeah, well, let me help you out with it. So
that's actually kind of funny because we can run reports and see the activity within the software.
Oh yeah.
So you can see the ones that are like using it to just have to use it. You can see the ones that are like, no way, I'm not touching it. And then we can obviously have conversations from there. And then it's kind of funny because some of the most unexpected individuals are just cranking on it.
Oh,
and
really?
Just using it to its full potential. It's like, all right, you can give them an attaboy next time you see them.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love the visibility thing. We have people that will send an invite to the project management stuff, and they just won't ever sign in. And then they ask you questions, and they're like, where are we on this? It's like, it's all right there. But I'm going to send you a recap anyways, and because that's the right thing to do for the customer, right? Because you don't want to be like like you said, did you see the email?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you logged in? You don't want to be like that too. You're providing a service. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's definitely that balance. And you guys do like everything at RODAC. So, site selection all the way to certificate of occupancy, right?
Yeah.
So, I see one of your projects off the highway, and I've seen it go from nothing to entire medical healthcare building, which is amazing. How do you keep everything organized from the start to the end of a project? And do you how much does technology play a part in that?
Yeah, it's a critical part.
Mm-hmm.
As we've grown specifically, and as companies grow, obviously you take steps in the technology side of things as it becomes more prevalent. But having a software that, number one, communicates from, business development side of things from early on with site selection all the way through to final completion and turnover, and then essentially eternity, however long. And everybody within the organization, I should say, everybody within the organization has access to it at a click of a button. So ensuring that our team is using it and updating accurate information, it flows very well. So I'd say at the end of the day, I think it's just big to rely on that that software and the information that's in it, and continue to use it throughout the process.
So those projects must take a long time. I mean, we just went through a new server build, right? It takes months to kind of go through. I'm sure your buildings take even longer than that.
Yeah.
What's it feel like when you get to the very end? Like you started something from its inception all the way to the end. Does it ever end, or what's that feeling like?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely projects that linger out there after closeout, and there's this, there's that, there's a few things, or it's, oh, we want to add this, or we'd like to continue and maybe do another phase, or do this, that, the other thing. But it's bittersweet, right?
Yeah.
You get to see a project getting wrapped up, and it's like, wow, that went really well, and it's sad to see it go.
Sure.
But once again, hope you got the next one coming right behind it. And the way that we like to do work is we like repeat business. We prefer it, and really allows us to understand our customers, clients, and what their needs and wants are. So, hoping that next one is coming, and hoping that they're going to continue to grow and we can grow with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's bittersweet. Obviously, there's some projects that are difficult, and it's like, okay, it's a breath of fresh air. But at the end of the day, it's I would say it's bittersweet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can see that. You're like, whew, I'm done with this one. You can cross it off the list, or I'm sure you become. I mean, it's a professional environment, but you just sat in how many meetings with these people, how many updates? I mean, you're in constant communication with them all the time. I mean, they probably become little, kind of really close-knit group, I would assume. So.
You do, and a lot of times you talk work-life balance. You talk about spending a lot of time with the people you work with. On a project site, it's from subcontractors, vendors to the owner. I mean, some of these projects are a year plus, and you really get close with that team. I mean, during the week, you're spending almost more time with them, seeing them not awake, right?
Yeah.
More time with them than you are your family. So, they almost become like a family, and it's you get to see them on another project, and we see that in the industry. You see them on the next one.
Yeah. It's like you're coming back from camp or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll see you next time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but it's bittersweet. You have a good team built. You build that trust, and it's
Yeah. Awesome. No, that sounds like a fun environment, and I think there's something to be said about that, where even for M2 Technology, if a customer calls us and we've built that relationship and worked with them for a long time, it's not like, oh, this customer's calling us, I got to pick this up at this time, because you've built that integration with the company and that family, and you're like, oh, what do they need? It's not like oh darn, it's how can I help? And I'm sure that's the same thing. Subcontractor calls, I had this on my mind, or this is something that I'm working on. It's like, oh cool, you're helping me get to the end of this project. I want to help you too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So is there any ways that maybe technology has, I don't want to say unexpectedly, but really a specific time where it helped out a project cross the finish line, or you're like, whoa, this really helped with what we were doing?
It's tough. That's a tough question. Technology has helped us in so many different ways, and some of those ways are, they're they're I guess more difficult to track and say like, okay, what are specifics? But technology has helped us as a whole of like just with our project closeouts and our tracking of documentation, and having that accurate information at our fingertips. And I would say that's the biggest thing, especially when we talk about project closeout and what's next.
Yeah.
Customer calls and says, hey, we want to do another project with you. This is what we just finished. It's very easy for us to go back and say, okay, well, we did project closeouts. Here's the contractors that we worked with.
Yeah.
Here's the materials that were used. Here's the selections that you had prior. And any design teams will have that information as well. But it's also nice for us to go back and say, hey, well, actually, we used this on the last one.
Yeah.
And, you swapped that out. This, that, the other thing. So, just technology as a whole has grown immense amounts, and I mean even recent years, and just using it to its full potential, I would say is key.
Yeah, I love that, because it sounds like when you restart a project with a customer, like you're not starting at zero again.
Correct.
You like have all the notes. Like,
yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, now I get to start on the 30-yard line instead of on the goal line.
And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not that, hey, we want to use this again. It's, hey, that worked. That worked well, but we want to go a different direction with material selections or styles or facade or whatever it may end up being. It's like, okay, this is what we did, and let's have conversations on maybe different design intents on the next one.
Sure. So yeah, and that seems very helpful. When you look at technology and RODAC in the future, what's your guys' kind of focus that you have?
Yeah. As of now, our focus is we've integrated a couple different new softwares into our organization, and really honing in and using them to their full potential. There are so many different facets within these softwares that are untapped, so to speak. Getting our team internally as well as our external team members to use that technology, use the software, have the trust in it, and really use it to its full potential, I think is number one. There's so many different things out there, so many different softwares, programs, options for in the construction industry as there is with others as well, that it's endless. And really finding the one that's tried true and proven itself is also a very big factor of it. But at the end of the day, I would say it's using what we have right now to hone in and make sure that we're using it to its full potential before we just go and say, okay, we need to add this, or we need to switch something up.
Yeah. No, I think that's super smart, to be honest. Like sometimes, all right, we don't have all the customer data that we needed, or like our notes are bad. We need a new CRM. It's like, well, no, maybe you're not utilizing that CRM correctly. It's like buying a Lamborghini, and only a stick shift and keeping it in first gear. You're like, this thing doesn't go very fast. It's like, oh, no, it's capable. You're just not utilizing it correctly. So, yeah, I think that's like a cost-effective way to look at the future too, and to drive efficiency. It's not always the tool. Sometimes it's the user and just getting into the next thing. And that's how it is all the time. These tools that come out are so in depth. They have huge booklets on them. Like, here's how you use it all. No one's sitting down there. They're just going, what do I need to do my job? So
it's surface level, right? Get the shovel out, dig in a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, and survive. Yes. But then how do you get a little bit deeper? No, that's so cool. This conversation has been super informative. I can't wait to see your guys' growth and what you guys continue to build, like literally and figuratively, as we go around, and you guys keep on, expanding the community and like expanding buildings and expanding things. It's just so cool, and wish you guys the most success.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for watching IT Unplugged. Really appreciate it. We got more episodes coming out every single week. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit all the buttons and all that other fun stuff, and we will see you next time on IT Unplugged.